Hello and most welcome to 2016.
16.
This year, Kalle will take you to an artwork by Cristo.
Cristo, not Christ, but Cristo.
Yeah, it's a difference.
But Cristo perhaps leads us to Christ. He designed these floating piers together with Jean-Claude.
Jean-Claude.
Jean-Claude, not Jean-Claude Van Damme, but Jean-Claude, a lady.
Jean-Claude.
And the idea is, this is like ECO.
It's a float, it's a flow.
It's a flow. It's free for everybody. Let me see.
You feel like walking on water or being on top of a whale.
Yes, indeed.
On top of the water, on top of the world. You are like Christ walking on water, actually.
Indeed, Cristo becomes Christ.
Yes.
And he makes us participatory. Yes.
Participatory, very important.
Mm.
Beautiful picture, that one, with the fog and everything. People walking around. I like that one. I think, yeah, and when the flow is about, then is when you are in the proprioceptive mood. So we'll continue today with Hao Tang's bodily self-knowledge as a special form of perception.
Of perception.
Of perception by Hao Tang. Last time we went into that the proprioceptive mode is transitive or intransitive, intransitive. It doesn't take an object. It is enough in itself. And I showed on the whiteboard that there could be a gradually popping off of an object. And I compare that to the topological donut. Do not. Do not step into the water, Krista might have said. The donut is a specific object-taking form, and it's actually space itself. It is actually both space and time, because of the transmogrifications or changes that the donut go through. You will see time pass. It will be also a passage of time. It's one thing is morphing to the other. And this one is showing what time is. That is time. Without a morphing, without that change, there will be no morphing. Look how the cup is changing to a donut and vice versa. They are the same thing. They both have one object or one whole. That's the important thing. That is the important thing.
Whole with a W and without a W.
Exactly. That led me also to it's inclusive. The right hemisphere mode, the inclusion. It contains everything. That is proprioception. All included, having no content. There is nothing budding off still at this instance. The budding off comes later. There will be a budding off. but only later. Budding off. So intransitive versus transitive. Transitive, everything is inherently contentless, but it contains everything. It is the whole world, whereas the transitive taking an object is the left hemisphere, the objectifying mood, or as we said with Michelle Pfeiffer, I think it was, Michelle Fletcher, it is also the conceptual mood. Making God into a thing that can either exist or non-exist. We've been sort of coming to the conclusion, or at least in the way of seeing, that secondary qualities temporarily come in second first, not in the beginning. And that they are then all deeply connected. So color, shape, smell, sense of touch, all those things come together. They are brought together in the shape. They are all in there, all important. But only secondarily, not as a first thing. It comes in second, still very important, but those are secondary features. We are not really speaking John Locke, but it could be good to remember John Locke and his first primary features, primary qualities, and those of the second class. I will continue on page 83. The penultimate paragraph. This exposes the Ayers-McDowell thesis to direct scrutiny. Scrutum. As we shall see, this thesis holds only for some forms of perception, but not for all. Not for all. In particular, it fails to hold for proprioception as a special form of perception, and for touch. The latter failure is fatal. Because touch is undeniably a form of perception. A simple example will show that we can tactually perceive spatial properties without mediation through secondary qualities. This I can, with a little tactile exploration by hand, find.
Why?
While, well, for emphasis, while being blindfolded find that there is an obstacle in front of me with a flat surface. Oh no! Now in this process, I may also find by certain sensations in my hand that the surface is cold or warm, wet or dry, and the like. But such qualities, secondary qualities proper to touch, are inessential for perceiving the spatial properties in question. These are: 1. The obstacle is in front of me, at a distance about half my arm's length. My arm's length. And 2, its surface is flat.
Flat.
Flat. Perception of these spatial properties requires no perception of secondary qualities proper to touch. Touch. As becomes clear when we imagine the exploring hand to be screened from those secondary qualities. For instance, by a glove made of insulating materials. If this is right, how do I perceive these spatial properties? If sensations of secondary qualities are not essential, what sensations are? The answer is that I perceive these properties by sensations of pressure, tension, and the like. And the like. For regarding one, it is by pressing against the object and finding it unyielding that I find it to be an obstacle in front of me. In front of me. Oh dear. And this discovery clearly depends on various sensations of pressure and tension. Tension. Oh dear. Tension in the neck or tension in the back. Discovering too also depends on such sensation. Sensation. Very good. Though in this case, they are likely to be less intense and less widely distributed in my body space. The important point now is this. The quality of the object that I perceive through sensations of pressure and tension is a primary quality, namely solidity. Solidity, it's a transitive or is it intransitive? That's the question. And it is perception of this quality that mediates my perception of those two spatial properties. For it is precisely by perceiving a particular spatial distribution of solidity about me that I perceive an obstacle in front of me. In front of me. I encounter solidity straight ahead at a distance of about half my arm's length to my web camera. I also encounter solidity slightly to the sides as I explore the surface with my hand. But I encounter no solidity between that surface and myself. Oh. And it is by perceiving a different but related spatial distribution of solidity that I perceive the surface to be flat, flat. Being solid, which contra loc comes in degrees, is related to such other primary qualities as being malleable or brittle. Brittle, like the Brits. Great brittle. The concepts of such primary qualities cannot be understood except together with the concepts of pressure, tension, impact, torque, and the like. That is, concepts of force, the chi, the force be with you. Let the force be with you. Let the force be with you.
Yummy, 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 force.
The force, yummy, yummy in your tummy. And this is what we should expect. Because force is a primary feature of reality. Of reality. Of reality. Reality is made of forces. And those are the ones that are calling the shots. Calling the shots. Doing differentiation. Leading to new things. Developing. Making a difference. All those things will stem into action. And this is what we should expect, because force is a fundamental primary feature of reality. Of reality. So the Ayers-McDowell thesis proves false for touch and does not hold generally. However, this does not mean that perception of spatial properties does not require any qualitative mediation at all. At all. At all. At all. At all. I believe it does, but the mediating qualities should not be restricted to secondary qualities. Secondary qualities.
Secondary qualities.
Rather, the right thesis hereabouts should be this. Space, to be perceived at all, must be perceived as qualitatively filled. It is filled in. Oh no, it's filled in, filled out, like an authorship, like a ship of authors. It fills in. In vision, space must be perceived as filled by colors. In hearing, by sounds. In touch, by degrees of solidity. I shall argue that this revised thesis holds for proprioception as a special form of perception. This requires answering a key question. By what qualities is space, one's body space, perceived as qualitatively filled in proprioception? In proprioception. I shall develop my answer through further engagement with McDowell. McDowell, not McDonald's, yummy. 10. How analogous is proprioception to the external senses? To the external senses. McDowell considers for rejection an attempt to show proprioception is perceptual. Perceptual! Oh dear! Oh no! This attempt insists that there indeed are secondary qualities involved in proprioception, and then tries to argue, in line with the Ayers-McDowell thesis, that they mediate proprioceptive perception of one's own limbs. McDowell formulates this attempt as follows. As follows. It follows now the force, the chi force of the balls are coming soon to a theatre close to you. Suppose someone said that there are such secondary qualities. They are qualities given by sensations of the sort Anscombe exemplifies by a pressure here, a tension there,
a tension here, a tension there,
a tingle in this other place, as playing a role analogous to the role of sensations of color, perception, as sensation that give one secondary qualities.
secondary qualities.
Secondary qualities, tingliness, say. Belonging to the relevant parts of one's body. One's body. Would this be a way to hold on to the idea that the knowledge we are concerned with, proprioceptive knowledge, is perceptual? Is it? Could it be? The question here is, does the analogy described really exist? McDowell thinks not, on the ground of three disanalogies. But before examining his disanalogies, I need to fix something problematic in his discussion. In his discussion. In his
discussion.
Namely, that he takes sensations of pressure and tension to be sensations under secondary qualities. this is wrong. Oh God, attacking poor McDowell. Because pressure and tension are primary qualities that our limbs can possess. Indeed, they can possess it. They are intransitive, not accusational. Not accusational. Yes. This is in turn because they are direct manifestations of that primordial feature of reality, force in one's body space. Force, that chi force once more, or as I will call it promptly, entanglement. But the analogy mooted here need not be burdened by this mistake. Oh. Since it is needed only if one wants to press the analogy in conformity with the Ayers-McDowell thesis, which is anyway false. So we can, rejecting this thesis, free the analogy from restriction to secondary qualities and broaden it to allow primary qualities. Henceforth, I shall take the analogy in this broad sense and ignore the word secondary in McDowell's disanalogies. 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 In the disanalogies. I shall skip McDowell's first disanalogy. Oh dear, poor. Sorry. His second disanalogy is this. But there is a deeper disanalogy between tingles and the like. Tingles. Tingles, for instance, visual sensations. These bodily sensations are themselves located as opposed to locating items, instances of secondary qualities. That might be conceived as given by them. In contrast, perceptual sensations are not located, very important, except unspecifically where the subject is. That's unspecific. So where the observer is unspecific regarding an outer dimension or definition, maybe by the orthogonal perpendicular Cartesian coordinates. they locate the instances of secondary qualities that they give. Very good. And here's the pause. So think once more of the donut and its transmogrification or transferal or morphing into the cup. In quantum mechanics, it's no morphing going on, which is the proprioceptive, the before the collapse of the potentiality wave or the superposition. Here, once we have the secondary quality, I call it secondary quality as McDowell and Hao Tang, you will get a change. This change is also, and now is the good thing, it is force. This is what is gravitation and the four other forces of the universe. So time is a secondary quality, so to speak, and what helped me with that realization, because this is a tough nut to crack, was actually your Qigong balls. See them as two balls here, and in between them, you can think there's one from the beginning, and somehow you are able to part it, which is actually what happens. One thing turns into two opposing. Here we have the donut, and in this example, there's a coffee cup here. All of a sudden, they become estranged from each other. There is a distance. That actual distance is the walk from proprioception, I call the zero, to the second, when you have two things. You have all of a sudden the transitive. There is a perceiver and there is something perceived. And that was so clearly put here. The perceptual sensations, when speaking of proprioception, are not located. This is very Cartesian way of expressing it, but it works. It means that, for instance, if my colleague here is perceiving something, he does it from the inside, his proprioception of his body. At the same time, his body cannot be localized because he has still not going into the second. There is no Cartesian grid. This was also helpful for me to understand. It is when you part the hands, you get the energy. You part them, and in that parting situation, when they go from being intransitive to become transitive, to have a distance. Distance is the force, literally. It is also time, the temporality. And here in this beautiful view, this is fantastic, we also find ordinary secondary space, so to speak. But here we can have many spaces, but Cartesian is one of them. Here, in the proprioceptive zero mode, we have all and none at the same time. This is also important. The zero has the capacity to bring forward everything and nothing. And it does that in a mode that cannot be said to be other than miraculous. So drawing apart the balls, they become two balls, one seeing the other. It doesn't really matter either in the transitive function what is seeing what. As we know from quantum mechanics, once the collapse of the superposition is said, you can say that this teacup is looking at you. It doesn't matter, the split has happened. And marvelously enough, it's the split that's important, not what takes which side. So 0 being the first proprioceptive kinesthetic sensation, it doesn't have a content, but oddly enough, it contains everything. Then you have secondary, you've drawn the whole thing, you made the transformation, and you have two sides. Well, somebody would say, oh, they are temporally disjunct. No, in quantum space, they are still one and the same thing. But in Cartesian, there will be T1 and T2. This is when it's still a donut, and this is when it turns into a coffee cup. In between, what drags it is the T-force, that force. And thank you for using your lovely metaphor, Kalle. Now, you can put a pause again. So if you go to page 84. Yes, thank you. Third paragraph.
Voila.
Thank you very much. The important point now is this. The quality of the object that I perceive through sensations of pressure and tension is a primary quality, namely solidity. Solidity is oddly a bit in the middle, but it was really helpful for me to gain understanding. Solidity is oddly enough a gradual thing, not like John Locke would have it. Locke said solidity is a simple function. No, it's actually rather complex. And it has graduality. Think of solidity as slowly developing, as the 0 sort of buds off something. You have all of a sudden, you sort of stretch the whole thing, just like you do like this. You stretch the whole thing, and you enter into having finally a disjunct object with a degree of solidity. The more you push it, the more solid it becomes, the more material it becomes. So I now see that there is a gradual development from proprioception in a way to perception. And by perception, I mean the transitive taking of an object that is given a solidity, and also, very important, it has gained an independence. That independence is not there when it's still in the 0. Here, it is under everything, it's inside. And this is what is called entanglement. Once you break it away from each other, it still stays the same, as proven by Anton Seilinger and others, especially in this 2012 experiment at La Gomera in Tenerife, where he showed that the whole universe, even if there are, I think it was 300,000 light years, everything was still one thing. So it was still before the dragging. So think about the expanse of the universe as beyond belief dragging out. But oddly enough, it stays together. That's entanglement. Kalle, please come in. I'll move it.
So let me comment on this. Space is filled. How does this space look like? My proposal is like a huge wave. And this fits with the image that we saw, that we showed in the beginning by Christo,
Oh yeah.
Let's imagine a huge wave, and it fits also with the Christ analogy of going on water.
Yeah. Oh, very good.
So Christ was perhaps walking on a quantum wave,
Definitely.
a huge quantum wave. And this larger wave contains two other things. It contains a smaller wave
Yeah.
and a particle.
Oh yeah. And that's, of course, is also the oddity. In some unimaginable way, the particle and wave are also the same.
And let me give you a last the comment that sensations are not located.
Oh yeah.
So we could even compare it with thinking.
Oh yeah.
The ancients had two theories about it. Thinking was located at the heart. Christ had this comparison that thinking comes from the heart.
Yeah.
But Plato and others look at in the brain as we have it. So where is? I think the answer is perhaps that thinking and sensations are not located in a specific location. I think it's a mistake to think that they are in a specific location. When Christ said that they're in the heart, there is more in the figurative sense.
Oh yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, because your thinking it makes a difference here. So if your thinking goes from being intransitive to being transitive, that's a huge change in attitude. And all of a sudden you get, with the transitive, you get is enormous distances beyond belief. And you have only been thinking. I do these quotation marks there on my citation marks. No, thinking is massively important. It makes the whole difference. And in its nest, thinking is in the proprioceptive act of, so to say, existing or perceiving.
Let's end there with this inspiring way.
Photo, yeah, definitely. Sounds like a good thing. Thank you everyone for joining in. Thank you Kalle Lundahl. Thank you for borrowing the chi balls, because stretching them out gives such a good view of how a force exists, come to existence, or always existed. And how the zero can be all force, but at the same time having no force.
Indeed.
So all is included in the zero of no content and all content. I say thank you very much for listening in. Have a beautiful day, morning or evening. Bye bye for now.
Thank you.
Thank you.